What's happening? George Balecki here with some news from the Patriots.
Zach Cox here with Dakota Randall on the Patriots practice field after day 4 of Patriots training camp. Players were off yesterday, back at work today. It was kind of their final warm-up practice, so to speak, of training camp, with the pads scheduled to come on tomorrow. In this practice, I think probably the biggest storyline was some progress that we saw from the Patriots offense. The first 3 practices limited only to red zone work, so really kind of shrinks the space the offense has to work with. Today, opened things up a little bit, and I think you saw some improvement on that side of the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think the offense definitely had its struggles over the first few days. And again, all this was in the red zone. And it was easy to look at it and say, one, the offense is struggling, and 2, the Patriots continue to not have receivers or offensive weapons capable of gaining separation or making plays in the end zone. But at the same time, we've talked about this. That's a situation that, it's an advantage defense. It's compressed. They kind of get an extra defender on the sideline. So I didn't really want to read too much into it. But I think today you definitely saw some strides, especially, I think, from Bailey Zappi. I think he had a particularly good day down there when Mac Jones and the top offense was going. A lot of sacks, or would-be sacks. Still a little tough sledding. But that brief moment, or that brief period where there was a 2-minute offense kind of going over midfield, where they were able to open up a little bit, I think that's when they've looked their best so far.
Yeah, things going well for Bailey Zappi until his final throw of practice, which was a pretty ugly interception to Jalen Mills. But offensively, some of the weapons that we haven't seen a lot of so far, or didn't see a lot of through the first 3 days, they popped up a little bit today. Tyquan Thornton, 2 nice touchdown catches, both from Bailey Zappi. Also saw a catch from Mike Gesicki. He would have had another touchdown catch, but it was on a play that was blown dead for reasons unknown to us in the media tent. So definitely some positive strides, I think, from a lot of members of the Patriots offense. Over on defense, we've been looking a lot at the secondary and especially the cornerback group this week. Christian Gonzalez continued to play well. He still looks very much like a day 1 starter, like that cornerback 1 to start the year for the Patriots. He almost had what would have been a highlight reel interception at the goal line. He used one hand to knock down a Mac Jones pass to JuJuSmith-Schuster. Also saw some increased activity from Jack Jones in this practice.
Yeah. I think for the first time we saw Jack Jones go up against the Mac Jones offense. So that was interesting. Jack Jones has been primarily with the backups the entire time here in training camp. So that is a development. We've been obviously wondering how the Patriots would use him, what kind of work they would give him after the arrest back in June. And so today was the first big step forward in that regard. But really on the cornerbacks, I think they've all looked good. Kind of a tough day for Marcus Jones today. But one of my overarching takeaways is I still don't really know what the grouping is going to be, because I think we're pretty sure that Christian Gonzalez is going to be on one side, but we've seen John Jones on the other. We've seen Marcus Jones. Like you said, we saw Jack Jones a little bit today. Could see Jonathan Jones in the slot or at safety. Jalen Mills also has some versatility. So I think there's still a lot of shuffling going on. Patriots are figuring out what they have. But at the same time, they have multiple guys who can play different positions. So I think that group has really stood out so far.
I think if Jack Jones is available for the Patriots this season, we don't know how his whole legal situation is going to shake out, but if he is available, I think you have to like what the Patriots have at cornerback and in the secondary as a whole, with what they have at safety as well. As I mentioned earlier, full pads expected to come on tomorrow, Monday, which will be the first full contact, first real football practice of the summer. In these non-padded sessions, you're not really able to tell a lot about offensive linemen, about linebackers, about defensive linemen, even about running backs. So there's really about half of the Patriots roster that we haven't even really gotten to get much reliable intel on yet. That will start to happen tomorrow, and one storyline in that first padded practice is what Matthew Judon's level of activity will be. He's been on the field for all 4 practices so far, but his level of involvement has definitely fluctuated a lot. Most of today's practice, standing on the sideline, only got about 4 or 5 reps in 11-on-11 drills. Obviously one of the Patriots' best players, probably their best player overall. A guy who probably doesn't need a lot of off-season ramp-up work, but going to be very interesting to see how he is used over these next couple of days.
Yeah, stay tuned on Matthew Judon. You kind of covered it. It will be interesting to see how he's used. When we go into these padded practices, everyone's going to focus on the 11-on-11 periods and the competitive drills, and for good reason. I think that's the most important stuff. But there also is a lot to be gained from the one-on-one drills. I think we'll really get a really good idea where some of these receivers stand when they get the one-on-one drills against the D-backs. And then on the lines, too, I think one of the biggest storylines here is the offensive line and the 2 tackle spots. I think it's been a really good start to camp so far for Trent Brown, but we'll see how it looks when the pads come on and he gets in some of those one-on-one drills. And on the other side, it's kind of been an adventure at right tackle. Riley Reef was the top right tackle for a bit. Seems like he's been passed by Connor McDermott. But again, how do they look once they start doing those drills? How do some of the young interior linemen that were drafted this year do? I think that's definitely something I'm going to be looking for next week.
Yep. Calvin Anderson, still haven't seen him on the field yet, as he's currently on the non-football injury list. Maybe he gets into that mix at some point later this week.
Yeah, and related to that too, we haven't seen Mike Nwenu because he's still on pup. Bill Murray's been sort of the fixture at right guard with the top offense. So how does he look in some of these settings when they're doing both the 11-on-11s and the one-on-one drills? I think he's a player to watch going forward because there's a non-zero chance that he might have to play real games here if Mike Nwenu can't get healthy in time.
Yep, obviously offensive line play going to be a major factor in how the Patriots can improve on offense this season. Again, they will be back on the practice field Monday in full pads.